O'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. If we should encounter an emergency situation, we will exit the building. There's 2 sets of doors off of the lobby, and if for some reason those exits are not available, you can follow council, and there's another exit behind us. Our muster point is located near the gazebo in Lions Park, and if we are evacuated for any reason, we will not re-enter the building until given an all clear from staff. Next, we'll move to the land acknowledgement. Councillor Oostende.
Thank you. We are gathered here on Treaty 6 lands in the lands called Métis Region 3. As the first newcomers came to North America, they met with those who were already here and asked permission and help to move across the land of many First Nations. Settlers didn't just arrive, put up a trading post, put up a fence, and start shooting, farming, and trapping. Even the early fur economy was done mainly by First Nations and Métis people across our country. The Hudson's Bay Company officials were the traders and shopkeepers, not the trappers, hunters, and gatherers. In fact, even trading posts like Fort Edmonton hired mainly local Indigenous people to build it, and they also supported the company with food and materials. Signing Treaty 6 was an attempt to remove the tension that was building and sometimes exploding across the prairies, like the Battle of Batoche 9 years later. The treaty was to find agreement on how to share the land base between Canada and First Nations. Treaty 6 was signed 37 years before the village of Sylvan Lake was formed. Things like healthcare, hunting, and education were part of the deal. Treaty was the permanent way of sharing the land, and our land acknowledgement today is a symbol of that. To go beyond the symbolism, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls us to action with at least 12 ideas for municipalities. One action is to educate ourselves in this shared history, which our town does for the staff and public.
Thank you. Next, we'll move into proclamations, and I have 2 to read for you tonight. The first one is for Mentor Month, January 1st to 31st, 2026. And it is as follows. Whereas the town of Sylvan Lake has designated January 1st to 31st as Mentor Month to honor the contributions that mentors make to our community. And whereas we recognize that young people need a solid foundation to nurture them as they grow to become productive and caring Sylvan Lakers. And whereas positive relationships with adult and older youth provide long-term benefits for young people by increasing their chances of school success, mental wellness, and overall thriving. And whereas quality mentorship programs in our community, such as the Meant to Matter, in-school mentoring, and Grandpals intergenerational mentoring programs, stand ready to help volunteers get connected with mentoring opportunities. And whereas Mentoring Month is an opportunity to unite the residents of Sylvan Lake to empower our youth, raise public awareness of the importance of mentoring, recognize those who have impacted the lives of our youth, and build a brighter future for our young Sylvan Lakers through mentoring. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Megan Hansen, Mayor of Sylvan Lake, do proclaim the date of January 1st to 31st, 2026 as Mentor Month in the town of Sylvan Lake. Thank you. And I have 1 more to read today, and it is for National Ribbon Skirt Day, which is January 4th, 2026. Whereas Indigenous women are life givers and are entrusted with traditional knowledge to care for their families, their communities, and the environment. And whereas the ribbon skirt is a long-held symbol of identity, strength, and cultural pride for many Indigenous women. And whereas the ribbon skirt reflects a deep connection to the land and the teachings that come from it. And whereas Indigenous culture, language, and ceremony are essential to the health and well-being of First Peoples and to the shared story of our country. And whereas we all share a responsibility to learn about, respect, and celebrate Indigenous histories, cultures, and traditions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Megan Hansen, Mayor of Sylvan Lake, do proclaim the date of January 4th, 2026 as National Ribbon Skirt Day in the town of Sylvan Lake. Thank you. Next, we will move into open microphone. Open microphone is an opportunity for a resident to speak to council. We have 1 sign up tonight for open microphone. Mr. Detre, welcome. We're happy to hear from you. And you know the drill, the beeps are coming, and after that, then please go ahead.
Your Worship, Councillor, good afternoon. The only advantage of being old is to have accumulated a lot of experience. A permanent fixture of that experience is that you have to always deliver more, and preferably with less. That was true for me in Crown Corporation, in private company, and in provincial government. Understand my surprise when I discover that Sylvan Lake, the very place that collects my taxes, is proposing to pre-approve the hiring of an admin content coordinator, a full-time position that will take $65,000 out of the municipal budget. My experience tells me that any pre-approval is nothing else than an early approval. And short of a tsunami, such a pre-approval will be definitively approved shortly thereafter. Not that I am against hiring people, but wherever I were, before hiring any extra body, you first had to exhaust the obvious alternatives: optimize workload, redefine assignment, transfer bodies from underworked department to those in need, and so on. Now, the justification for hiring is simply that the department risks operational delay, compliance issue, and diminished service quality. In other words, no less than the end of the world from a managerial perspective. But a risk is not a sure thing. It is something that may happen, especially if nothing is done to avoid it. On the other hand, hiring in government is a very permanent and secure thing. As a town resident who dutifully pays tax, in time I should add, I would feel better represented if it were clear that hiring anybody is the only reasonable thing to do than just a comfortable decision. Respectfully submitted, Mike Détare.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Council, do we have any questions? I do appreciate that you are willing to bring your experience to us. Thanks. All right, next, Council will move on to adoption of the agenda. Ms. Phillips, do we have anything to add or remove tonight?
No, we do not.
Excellent. Council, would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Payne.
So moved.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, move into the consent agenda. Council, as a reminder, the consent agenda is a tool we use to increase meeting efficiency. All items that are recommended by administration to be put in the consent agenda are marked with an asterisk. But if there's any items you'd like to have extensive discussion around, have lengthy questions, please pull those prior to the motion being made. So Council, I'll ask that question. Is there anything you'd like to remove for a deep dive discussion? No. Would someone like to make the motion? Councillor Payne.
I move that the 2025 11:25 regular meeting of council minutes be approved as presented, that the 2025 12:02 committee of the whole meeting minutes be approved as presented. The council will appoint Ranchelle Van Bryce as a non-tourism partner advisory member to the Tourism Development Committee for a term to expire October 2026, as presented in AIR 1280. That council accepts the Economic Development Project Status Report as information as presented. That council approve administration's request to allow new letters of support under the Rural Entrepreneurs Stream Program to support business successions pursuant to AIR 1282. And that council accept the third quarter financial reports for the period ending September 30th, 2025 as presented in AIR 1285. And that council approves a leave of absence for Councillor Ostindi for the meeting of November 25th, 2025 for the reason of extreme weather preventing travel.
Excellent. Any comments, Council? Councillor Mearns?
Yeah, I just on the our attendance policy, I look forward to that coming back in our procedural bylaw, just to outline some little more specifics on what other means. Yeah.
I think so too. All right, we have a motion on the floor by Councillor Payne. All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Public hearings and delegations. Our first public hearing is for bylaw 1936-2025. The purpose of this hearing is for council to receive public input regarding proposed bylaw 1936-2025, being a bylaw to amend the town's South Area Structure Plan bylaw 1426-2027. This hearing was advertised in the Sylvan Lake News on November 20th and 27th, 2025. You'll note the actually, that is quite recent. We did have a delay in one of these due to the Canada Post strike. But I now declare that the public hearing is open. First, I'll invite town administration to give us some background on the proposed changes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So bylaw 1936-2025 is a bylaw to amend the South Area Structure Plan. The South Area Structure Plan is a statutory document that was approved in 2007. The amendments include relocating the school site identified in the quarter section adjacent west of 60th Street, south of Memorial Trail, farther to the east at the corner of Memorial Trail and 50th Street. Other amendments include revisions to outdated sections to ensure the document aligns with the town's municipal development plan, master infrastructure plans, and other planning-related documents. Thank you.
Thank you. Here is how tonight's hearing will work. Anyone who wants to speak will have up to 5 minutes. Each person will only speak once. We'll hear from people in this order. First, those in support, followed by then opposed, then anyone else who feels affected. After that, administration may speak again if required. Council may ask questions after each presentation, but only for clarification. There will be no cross-examining, debating, or questions from the audience. Once the hearing is closed, council cannot accept any more comments, written or verbal. Before we hear from anyone in attendance, I'll ask administration to read in any written comments that were sent ahead of time.
Thank you, Your Worship. So administration received one written comment from the adjacent landowner referral. However, the letter did not specify the bylaw number they wish to speak to, and administration recommends that the comments be entered into the record for both bylaws. And the written comment is as follows. Good afternoon. I'm unable to attend either public hearing due to my work schedule. My comment is that when I purchased my unit at 3 Broadway Rise, I was not advised that there was possibility of a school being built across the street. I would definitely not have purchased my current property. I am already struggling with the lack of bylaw enforcement for noise on Memorial Trail for the extremely loud vehicles and the speeding vehicles. Now I have to expect construction and more traffic. I purchased my unit which faces Memorial Trail because of the view. I realize that my concerns will probably have no impact on the decision, but my question is, can you tell me if perhaps my property value will increase with the addition of this school? If it goes forward, I will want to move away from it. Kind regards, Jean Vallely.
Thank you. All right, we'll now hear from anyone who is here in person in support of bylaw 1936-2025. If you are here, please raise your hand. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in support? Councillor Payne, would you like to go take a different seat?
No, unless Mr. Detore is speaking for all of these things, there's nobody else here.
You never know, there could be a staff member who wishes to speak, so we will continue to call out anyone else that wishes to speak in support. All right, now we'll hear from anyone who is opposed to the bylaw. And one more call if anyone is opposed. Finally, is there anyone else who feels they are affected by this bylaw that wishes to speak? And last call. If council, we would have no questions on these presentations. So with that, I now declare that the public hearing is closed. As a reminder, council will not accept any more comments in this bylaw now that the hearing is closed. Please also note that comments made tonight will be included in the meeting minutes and made public. All right, we will move along to the next public hearing tonight, and it is for bylaw 1937-2025. The purpose of this hearing is for council to receive public input regarding proposed bylaw 1937-2025, being a bylaw to amend the town's land use bylaw 1695-2015. This hearing was advertised in the Silver Lake News on November 20th and 27th, 2025. I now declare that the public hearing is open. First, I'll invite town administration to give us some background on the proposed changes.
Thank you again, Mayor. So bylaw 1937, 2025 is a bylaw to amend the town's land use bylaw and proposes to redesignate a portion of the Northeast 2038-1 quarter section from future designation district to public facility district. The redesignation is required to support the planning and development of a future new school site and open space. As noted for bylaw 1936, one comment was received from the adjacent landowner referral. However, again, they did not specify the bylaw that they wish to speak to. Administration recommends entering the same comments into the record for bylaw 1937, 2025. And would council wish me to reread the letter?
I don't believe that that is necessary, but we will provide that to the recording secretary tonight for that. We did review how this public hearing will work, but I'll just remind anyone one final time. Anyone who wishes to speak will have up to 5 minutes. Each person will only speak once. We'll hear from people in order, those written comments, then those in support, then opposed, then anyone else who feels affected. And after that, we'll have an opportunity for administration to close if required. Council can ask questions after each presentation, but only for clarifications, and there will be no cross-examining debate or questions from the audience. Once the hearing is closed, council cannot accept any more comments, written or verbal. Now we're at that point for any written comments, and we've agreed that we don't need to hear that again, but we will submit that for the record. Was there any other comments submitted?
To the mayor. No, there were no other comments. That was just the only one.
Excellent. Now we'll hear from anyone else who is in support of bylaw 1937, 2025. And one more call for anyone who is in support. Now we'll hear from anyone who is opposed to the bylaw. And one more call for anyone who is opposed. And finally, is there anyone else in attendance who has been affected by this bylaw and would like to speak? Seeing none, I declare that this public hearing is now closed. As a reminder, council will not accept any more comments on this bylaw now that the public hearing is closed. Thank you. All right, now we will move along to business item 7A, which is bylaw 1936, 2025, the South Area Structure Plan Amendment.
So bylaw 1936, 2025 is an amendment to the South Area Structure Plan. And my report is for council to consider granting second and third reading to bylaw 1936, 2025, which is a bylaw to amend the South Area Structure Plan. So the South Area Structure Plan was approved in 2007 and provides a high-level comprehensive planning framework for 9 quarter sections in the south area of town. The land uses within the plan include a mix of residential, commercial, open space, and institutional uses, including a school site within the 2 quarter sections south of Memorial Trail, approximately halfway between 50th and 60th Streets. As council is aware, the school boards had identified a need for a new joint high school site in town to meet future educational needs. And with input from Public Works, Rec, Culture and Tourism, Fire and Parks, administration has identified a preferred location at the northeast corner of the Northeast 2038-1 quarter section, which is at the corner of Memorial Trail and 50th Street. So for the benefit of our new councillors, administration in coordination with council, Chinook's Edge and Red Deer Catholic School Boards have gone through a significant review process over the past few years to identify and select a suitable site large enough for the proposed joint school. Various locations were considered, however, all sites had some form of development constraints that made them unsuitable for a school site. The site chosen has the least amount of development constraints and provides a large enough site with good transportation access that meets the province's school site requirements. To help the town progress through the next stages in the province's selection process, there are conditions that the town must first satisfy, which includes providing a site that is zoned for school use. A rezoning must align with the overarching statutory plan, which is the South Area Structure Plan. So as a statutory plan, it provides a direction that includes what type of land uses go where, and that council uses this document when deciding on an application for rezoning, which is why the South Area Structure Plan must first be amended to show the revised school site location. The relocation of the school site within the plan is the primary reason for the amendment. However, there were many sections within the plan that also needed to be updated. This included outdated references to various planning documents, locations where road widening will be required, a revised, more flexible policy approach to social care sites that Council recently supported, and updated maps to reflect the current town boundary and proposed land uses. Attachment 2 includes a red-line version of the plan showing the changes to those texts. These amendments will bring the document up to date and provide the framework for more detailed planning of the remaining undeveloped quarter sections in the plan area that do not yet have an approved neighborhood plan, or what we call outline plans. A public hearing notice for the bylaw was advertised on the town's website and in the local newspaper in accordance with the MGA requirements. Administration also sent out a notice of the amendment to the South Area Structure Plan to adjacent landowners and external agencies. One comment was received from an adjacent landowner that has been read into the public hearing record. That concludes my presentation, and administration respectfully recommends that Council grant second and third reading to Bylaw 1936-2025, and the resolutions are before you in your agenda package, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we begin, Council, do we have any questions of administration? Councillor Ostendi.
Trying to keep this at the highest level possibly because we have the other one as well that's more specific to the school site, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of our greater area plan, the structural plan amendment, we have, since it was made, new housing needs assessments. Do those changes also affect potentially a structure plan? And how would that happen? Would that happen through MPC, or is that direct action of council or direct action of planning development? If we need, and specifically I'm thinking about the mix of schools or housing mixture, because I noticed they have very specific percentages listed.
So through the chair to Councillor Ostendi, so we did take into consideration the current housing needs within our community, and we have updated this South Area Structure Plan to reflect more current, I guess, mix of types of housing that we saw in the West Area Structure Plan. So at a very high level, we feel that that mix would very much be able to meet the current housing needs that we have. As we get into more detailed plans like the outline plans, that's where we start to see the types of zonings that we would see, and so whether it's high density or medium density, those types of things.
Okay.
Any additional questions for administration, council? Would someone like to make a motion for second reading? Councillor Burns.
I make a motion the council grant second reading to bylaw 1936-2025 as presented in AIR 1246, being a bylaw to amend the South Area Structure Plan bylaw 1426-2007.
Excellent. Council, do we have any debate or discussion around this? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Ostendi?
Not so much debate, just add 3 minor spelling mistakes. Just the word retention and extent and pogattle, 3 words somewhere in the plan. I can point them out to someone later to say what page. Minor spelling. I hate to be the teacher.
Appreciate that someone
I'm a terrible
has an eye
English
for
teacher
that.
though, so that's usually not my expertise.
Thank you. We will note that and we'll grab them from you for outside of this process. Thank you. Council, any additional conversation? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Would someone like to put forward a motion for third reading? Councillor Payne.
Move that council grant third reading to bylaw 1936-2025 as presented in AIR 1246, being a bylaw to amend the South Area Structure Plan bylaw 1426-2007.
Excellent. We'll have an opportunity for comments or discussion. Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we will move along to bylaw 1937-2025, the school site rezoning.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is for council to consider granting second and third reading to bylaw 1937-2025, which is a bylaw to redistrict a portion of the Northeast 2038-1 west of the 5th quarter section from future designation to public facility district to support the development of a future school site and open space. The area to be rezoned is located at the corner of the quarter section south of Memorial Trail and west of 50th Street and is approximately 38 acres in size. The area is intended to reserve enough land for 2 school buildings, parking facilities, and shared sports fields. In order to move the town into the province's next selection phase for the new school, the town must provide a site zoned for that purpose. Until the town receives a commitment from the province for a new school, the exact land requirements are unknown, so we have opted to redistrict a larger area at this stage to allow for more flexible design of the school site. Any unused land will be planned out in collaboration with the developer through the outline plan process and redesignated at a later time when development occurs. Although there is currently no approved outline plan for this quarter section, the proposed land use aligns with the overarching South Area Structure Plan that is currently being amended to reflect the location of the preferred school site and support this redistricting application. Public Works has confirmed that servicing and road alignment considerations can be reasonably addressed at this stage with access to the site provided from Memorial Trail and 50th Street as shown in attachment 2 of my report. As noted in my previous presentation, Parks, Rec, Culture and Tourism, and the Fire Department were also consulted in the process to select a new school site, and the bylaw was referred to all departments where no concerns were raised. A public hearing notice for the bylaw was advertised on the town's website and in the local newspaper in accordance with the MGA requirements. Notice of the rezoning and public hearing was sent to adjacent landowners, and 1 comment was received, which has been read into the public hearing record. Administration respectfully recommends that council grant second and third reading to bylaw 1937-2025, and the resolutions are before you in your agenda package, and this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. We'll start with any questions for administration. Councillor Iwanicki.
This isn't 1,000,000% directly on point, so my apologies if I'm sort of tangent a little bit, but I know the 50th Street redevelopment, there's some talk about a roundabout going there at Memorial. Is that being considered holistically with the redesignation? Like, I know that there's not even plans in place yet for the school, but like, are those things being considered at once?
Through the chair to Councillor Iwanicki. So those accommodations have already been considered in the Memorial Trail functional planning study. As we don't have that level of detail yet for the school site, so it's unclear of when those intersection improvements would be required at this time, but they have been planned for. And in the South Area Structure Plan, there's been road widening requirements identified as well to accommodate those improvements.
Thank you. Councillor Stindy.
Big question, overall question, not so much questions for the debate of the actual school site, but I know there's been discussions about a buffer between school and Memorial Trail, discussions in the past and maybe into the future about other uses in that section. So in other words, a school behind maybe a retail strip or behind a residential strip. Is that still possible in the way that we're rezoning it at this point in time? And I have another question.
Through the chair to Councillor Ostindi. So yes, as noted in my presentation, that's the reason why we actually were rezoning a larger piece of land than is necessary so that we can allow for that type of design consideration.
So go ahead with your second.
And this is more commentary and question of process. Given the possible of great efficiencies in this area plan of having 2 schools in one site, how can one affect where we put those other extra reserve, you might say, from municipal reserve? You know, I think always in a bias towards wetlands, although that wetland hasn't been wet in over a year and a half. But it's a critical piece of nature, and how do we as a community create, target that as a priority if agreeable to others, of course, council being the ultimate authority and in negotiation with developers, etc.
Through the chair to Councillor Ostindi. So as noted, there is no outline plan approved for those 2 quarter sections at this time. So that level of detail will be worked out in those plans as to how to integrate those wetland areas into the overall development plan. And in terms of the school site, shared field use, et cetera, there is a little bit of topography in that area. So until there is actual design dollars that the school boards will have in order to kind of sort out exactly what can be done with that parcel, where the fields can go, where the school building is going to be sited. All of those details will be worked out at a later time.
Okay. Follow-up question. Does MPC have a voice in that, or does it have to come directly from council to have an effect on that kind of bias that I talked about?
So through the chair to Councillor Ostindi, the MPC bylaw, the changes that administration made to the land use bylaw regarding the types of applications that would be referred to municipal planning commission include development applications that would be of a large enough significance to the community. So until we get to that stage, but that is something that would likely be referred to the Municipal Planning Commission as it's a development that's significant enough to the community.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Council, would someone like to put first motion on the table? Councillor Iwanicki.
Sorry, just let me get to it.
That's okay. 93.
I move that council grant second reading to bylaw 1937-2025 as presented in AIR 1247, being a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw 1695-2015 to redesignate a portion of the northeast section 2038-1 West 5th. And do we want to do to third? Or
We'll make a motion on this one and then we'll see if we carry on.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Council, any discussion, debate? All right. Yes, Councillor Iwanicki.
I think we need a new school. That's all.
It's a strongly worded comment.
Wonderful. Seeing no further hands flying, all those in favor and opposed, and that is carried. Councillor Payne, you'd like to make the motion for third reading?
I move that council grant third reading to bylaw 1937-2025 as presented in AIR 1247, being a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw 1695-2015 to redesignate a portion of northeast 2038-1 west of the 5th.
Excellent. Any comments or discussion? I've got a couple, seeing where we might be headed, it feels like. One is I'd love to see a quick update on the website once we've passed third reading to share that on our advocacy goal page. And also I wonder if this is a big enough stage that we might want to write a letter to our MLA just letting him know that it passed on this date, just so you know, so we can continually keep that conversation going, that we'd really love to see the next stages of approval in their upcoming budget cycle. But I think this is a milestone that certainly is worth putting some ink to paper on. Excellent. Any other comments or debate on that? Wonderful. Motion on the floor by Councillor Payne. All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. Next, we will move along to business item 7E, request construction contract award for the Northeast Gateway Water Supply Main. Mr. Yee, Mr. Boudreau, welcome.
Good morning, Mayor and Council, or good afternoon, sorry. The sun's setting, it's always dark outside, I don't know it anymore. The purpose of this report is to request council approval to award construction contract for the Northeast Gateway Supply Main. This Northeast Gateway Supply Main is just one part of a much larger project that we have been working on in the town of Silver Lake here for a number of years. So yeah, this is part of a larger project we have been working on for a number of years, the Silver Lake Sustainable Water Resource Project. What this is an overall project looking at the entire town on what water we need, how we get that water there, how we make sure we're doing it environmentally friendly manner, how we're making sure we're, talking to our neighbors, making sure their interests are being heard, and ensuring that we have the resource we need today, but also for years, and even hopefully generations to come, so that we don't have to worry about anything of this nature for a long time. Some of the other projects that relate to this is our North Gateway, our North Reservoir, our North Wells, our South Reservoir, trunk mains, all of that. It's done in a very timely and intricate manner to ensure we have exactly what we need when we need it, and we can continue forward fluidly to ensure, again, that there's no disruptions to anyone's needs or services. The reason we need the Northeast Gateway project, right now the supply main coming from the North Reservoir is becoming too small to maintain the service levels we need for our community. Think of it as a very small straw trying to suck water out of a very big pond. We have water up there, but now it's just the challenge is getting it to our community. This Northeast Gateway will increase the diameter of that pipe substantially, distributing the water throughout our community a lot more efficiently, and then ensuring, again, like I was saying, our growth, and we can maintain our existing status with greater ease. So the procurement of this project was done a little bit differently than what we typically do. We decided, because of its delicate nature, we do a pre-qualification to ensure we had contractors in there that were above average. We wanted to make sure somebody in there that we can trust in there with whatever it is we were doing. So we did a pre-qualification in the fall. We received 13 submittals from contractors. Of those 13, 7 of them scored enough to move on to the next stage. Of these 7 that received the bidding package for review, 5 of those scored higher enough for us to further review and evaluate. And of those 5, Paterni's out of Blackfalds scored the highest, and they also had the lowest bid submittal of all the contractors. So the budget available for this project as it stands today is approximately $6.85 million. The budget needed for this project is $7.85 million. So our borrowing bylaw, when we first initiated with it, was last year. And at that time, we did do estimates. We did see what we thought the project was going to come in at, but regrettably, with the economic times that we're in and inflation and whatnot, things changed and not in our favor. So the requirement went up. We are fortunate, though, there is a condition in the borrowing bylaw that allows for an additional 15% without having to advertise. With that 15%, our initial borrowing request was $7 million. That would bring it up to an allowable of $8.05 million. with us only requiring $7.85 million to facilitate this project. We did discuss this with our finance department, and they were able to confirm that while we are requesting a little bit of additional borrowing at this time, it won't have any adverse impact on our future plans. We've presented council with a few options to consider, and administration would likely respectfully recommend council move forward with our recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions of administration to start? Councillor Ostindi.
Just a question about engineering in the post-construction phase. What kind of work does that involve in a project like this?
Through the chair to Councillor Stindy, great question. A lot. This Northeast Gateway project started many years ago when we were doing our water master plan in 2020. It also began with when we were constructing the North Reservoir to ensure that we had the facilities in place there to allow for a future extension. And then through the process of the design and the procurement, continuing discussions with Red Deer County, transportation with the province, environment with the province. We had to do a lot of testing. There are creek crossings and railway crossings and highway crossings. So there is a great deal of discussions that have to happen for years to get agreements in place. Land procurements as well with neighboring parties to ensure that when it comes time to pull the trigger like we are today, we have everything in place and it could get done smoothly.
And is that specific to the post-construction? That's the question. Is it all post, you're saying?
Thank you, Councillor Stindy, for the question. So, pre-construction, what Eric has suggested, all those things, those were pre-construction. So, after the construction, there will be contract administration, invoicing, billing, quality control. So, that will also be post-construction services. So, the amount we are requesting, 300,000, will be for the post-construction.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any additional questions? Councillor Iwanicki.
I know I appreciate I could probably Google this, but for the proposed subcontractors, are any of them from Sylvan Lake at all, do you know?
Through the chair and to Council Iwanicki, I am not familiar with whom they are at this time. My associate David Yee, are you?
One is the Case Boring is out of Calgary, and I think Paving Borders out of Red Deer.
Thank you. Ms. Phillips, I'm wondering if you could jump in and share a little bit about that local conversation as one we always have.
Yes, and I mean, we would love to be able to defer to local always or whenever within reason, but our hands are very tied with that. I'm sure Darren could add more detailed exactly how that is, but we can't actually give preference to local. Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure that, yeah, so. We do, sorry, if I can add to that, we do within our evaluations, there are things in there that do assist a little bit in that area in terms of, you know, experience and ability to respond quickly when there's issues. Like there's sometimes that we can rate things a little bit to, around that, but yeah, we can't legally.
Mm-hmm. I did have a question around the motion before that comes forward. Because other than the first one really can't take place without the other, could they be done together or would you still like them as 4 separate motions?
I think they, unless Director Khan, do you see, I don't see any reason we can't do them all as one, or Eric?
I don't think that would be a problem.
Excellent. Council, do we have any additional questions? Or if not, would someone like to make that motion? Councillor Mearns.
I'll make a motion the council approves the renaming of capital project CP 1923 from Supply Line Twin New Reservoir to 40th Street to Northeast Gateway Water Supply Main as presented in AIR 1281. And the council approve a budget adjustment to amend the budget for CP 1923 Northeast Gateway Water Supply Main to $7,850,000 as presented in AIR 1281. And the council direct administration to award the construction contract CP 1923-02 for the Northeast Gateway Water Supply Project, Main Project CP 1923 to Paternies Inc. of Black Falls in an amount not to exceed $6,704,350, excluding contingency and GST as presented in AIR 1281. And the council directs administration to award the engineering during the post-construction to ISL Engineering and Land Services of Edmonton in an amount to not exceed $263,846, excluding contingency and GST as presented in AIR 1281.
Thank you very much. Council, I'll open it up for any discussion or debate. Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor by Councillor Mearns. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we'll move along to the property tax exemption request. Welcome, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Hansen, and good evening, Council. So with this report, this is the second one. We were here last meeting. Oh, this chair is high. I'm not used to it. Yeah, so we've had some conversation with this organization, Central Alberta Youth Limited. They meet all qualifications. They've qualified before, and accepting that they've advised us that the lease on the property expires at the end of January in 2026, and that they're currently negotiating with the owner to renew that lease. So it's the only requirement they haven't met at this point. So we're, I guess, looking for council to, I guess, pre-approve it. Of course, if the lease is not extended or the situation doesn't work out, they won't qualify for the exemption for 2026. So just looking for council's direction on that. We've asked for 3 years, 26, 27, 28, as with others. Council can approve that or request that the outstanding information be provided by the applicant prior to considering the request for tax exemption for 2026, 7, 8. Deny the request in whole or part. Or, yeah, and those are the options. So the other item I just wanted to bring up this evening is in the report there, of course, regarding the affordable housing, local affordable housing society. So back in September, we got notice that the rules had changed for affordable housing units based on the 2024 amendment of Section 363 of the MGA. So originally it did not, the exemption did not apply to affordable housing units that did not have a government agreement in place. And of course, we don't have that anymore, haven't for a number of years. So we received notice this year that the province did change that, so agreement's no longer required. So we submitted the list of local units to the province, assisted living and social services, and they approved it. So otherwise, we were going to go through this process, and we'd have them come to council, or the information, I would come to council and present it to you, looking for exemption as well. So, and that's another option in the report. So currently 100% of those properties will be exempted, but council can, if you so choose, to make the municipal portion of the annual tax levy taxable to the affordable housing units in Sylvan Lake, but you cannot make the education portion taxable. So just wanted to bring council up to date. I know maybe that's been around that information for a couple of months now, but just so council's aware of that situation, and maybe is wondering why it hasn't come before you to this point. So council, of course, another option in the report is to do that, is to direct us, administration, to prepare a bylaw to make the municipal portion taxable for the local affordable housing units. Yeah, so with that, just looking for direction from council tonight on how they would like to proceed.
Excellent. Let's start with any questions, council. Councillor Oostende.
Question regarding the housing management bodies that are inclusive of the ones approved by province. I wasn't aware of the tweak the government had made. I was aware of the general new law done about a year ago that was excluding some groups. The two groups I'm curious about is the Red Deer Housing Authority and the Sylvan Community Housing Society. Do I understand then that they have eligibility now under MGA as well, the one is a housing authority, but the other being a housing management body? Am I understanding it right, or are they both included?
Through the chair, yes. My understanding is that they're included.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Councillor Martins.
Would they have to seek an application and bring it to council, or is it just automatic being with the new ruling?
Yeah, it was, we treated it as automatic to do that. So I guess, you know, they were going to be exempted from the education portion regardless. So we just submitted the whole thing, and like I say, it was approved. And so council can, if they feel otherwise, can change that by bylaw to make the municipal portion taxable.
Councillor Morris.
I know it would change from year to year, but roughly the taxation that we wouldn't receive out of that?
Yeah, good question. Through the chair, you know, I think we're probably talking around $25,000 to $30,000 total.
Yes.
And about a third of that is the education portion.
Thank you. Any other questions, council? Would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Oostende.
For the Central Alberta Youth Unlimited?
Yes, please.
So I move that council approve the property tax exemption requests from Central Alberta Youth Unlimited.
Sorry, could you
just continue
the
on?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I'm reading the recommendation line instead of the other one. Unlimited for property leased at 4425 50th Street for the 2026, 27, and 28 taxation years as outlined in Report AIR 1288.
Thank you. Make sure we're all clear
you.
here. Wonderful. Council will open up for any conversation. Seeing none, this is a great thing. Glad we're able to support it and hope they're able to continue there. Motion on the floor with Councillor Oostende. All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Is there any interest in any other motions out of this report? Perfect. We will carry on. Next, we'll move along to bylaw 1932, 2025, the fees and charges bylaw. Yes, Councillor Johansson.
I need to remove myself from this one for a pecuniary interest. I'll get that word one day, so. Yeah, thank you.
Nailed it. Thank you.
Yeah, with this report, Mayor Hansen, so we're looking for third reading from council tonight on the fees and charges bylaw, updating our fees and charges. We do it a couple times a year. So last meeting, council gave just second reading and had some questions. And so one regarding at the Next Source Center regarding access to cards. So my apologies. It was pointed out to me that I didn't quite get the wording right, which maybe someone's identified. But page 35 of 53 of the bylaw isn't quite worded correctly. So that has to be changed to say that the support person will be granted free admission to drop-in programs for the support person. And it doesn't quite say that. So just looking for council to make that change. And the other one was, I believe, Mayor Hansen, you had a question about nonprofit business licensing. So,
Correct.
My understanding is that business licensing bylaw is coming before council in the first quarter of 2026, and that when that's updated, we will update the fees and charges bylaw accordingly. So, if you got any questions on that, I'm sure Ms. Devlin is here to answer those. Yeah.
Just to be clear, on the access to, the new wording is the add-in, I assume?
Yes.
The updated?
Yes,
Great.
correct.
Thank you for making that clearer.
Yes, my apologies for that mistake there.
Council, any additional questions? Councillor Iwanicki and then Ostindi?
Oh, no, I'm just skimming.
Very good. You were skimming with your finger, that's dangerous. Councillor Ostindi.
Question of information. I know the fees come up multiple times per year. We've talked at different points about a false alarm service call-out fees. And is that something in the works currently? I know it's not in this one, but is that something coming up on a schedule, or is that something we have to initiate?
Through the chair to Councillor Oustley, that's a good question. Not sure I have the answer, but perhaps Mr. Lebsack does. Put him on the spot.
That will be coming forward, through the chair, that will be coming forward in probably end of January, part of the fire services bylaw.
And I'll just ask Ms. Phillips or Mr. Moore to repeat that answer, just so anyone online could also hear that.
Test is on, if I can remember. He said, Mr. Lebsack said that it would be coming forth to council at the end of January in the bylaw. Fire services bylaw.
Thank you. That's a great memory test.
My memory is good, it's just
you
short.
Failed. Any additional questions, Council? Would someone like to make a motion for third reading here? Councillor Bilodeau.
The council approved the third reading of the fees and charges bylaw 1932-2025 as outlined in AIR 1289.
Excellent. Do we have any further debate or conversation? I'll just say thank you for indulging my edits on that one, and happy to support this. With no further hands in the air, all those in favor and opposed, and that is carried unanimously. Can I ask, yes, please, Councillor Ostindi, if you can grab Councillor Johansson. Welcome back. And we will continue on to bylaw 1933-2025, ATCO Gas Franchise Agreement Renewal.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Hansen. So with this report tonight, we're looking for council to provide second and third reading to bylaw 1933-2025, renewing the natural gas franchise agreement with ATCO Gas and Pipelines Limited for a 10-year period. So this process started back in the summer as...
I'll just interject. Ms. Phillips has her hand up.
Mr. Moore, I'm just wondering if we can give a very high level of what franchise fees are for the new councillors, and also I do want to state that we're bringing back much more information by direction of council coming into the new year, but just so you know what exactly we're talking about.
Thank you. Mr.
Okay,
Moore.
I'll try my best. So, franchise fees we collect from through electrical distribution and gas distribution. So ATCO and Fortis are the ones who we have agreements with, and what they are is it's a franchise fee because we are granting them the exclusive franchise to distribute their commodity in the town of Sylvan Lake. So if you think about it, we don't have enough room in our right-of-ways to open it up to the free market. So we can't have 2 or 3, not that there's that many gas companies, electric companies in Alberta, but theoretically there could be. So we sign an exclusive agreement and charge a fee for that. And of course, you know, those companies pass it on to the consumer. There's no doubt about that. And so, the Alberta government has set maximums as to what you can charge for those franchise fee rates. And so with natural gas, I believe it's 35%, and with electricity, it's 20%. And so the town's current rate for gas, I believe, is 32%, and electricity, I think, is 18%. If I'm wrong, please someone correct me on that. Yeah, so we use those franchise fees, so we're, I think, $3.6 or $7 million each year in our budget, and we use currently half of that to fund our operating budget, and the other half goes into capital. So it goes into reserve, goes into reserve for the corporate reserve, as maybe you remember from the reserve list, to fund capital projects in the town, excluding utilities and transportation, as they have other funding sources. So that's what we use those franchise fees for.
And if I can just confirm, so we went through the process with council, we received direction, we did first reading, and then followed the next steps, which was the advertising, the agreement with ATCO, and now we're here to get second and third. So that we're, just so we're clear on where we're at with this process. But this will come back every year, so don't worry, you'll have lots of opportunities.
And Ms. Phillips, I'll also add, we did ask some questions at our Corporate Services Committee and spent a bit of time on it, at least those on that committee as well. So hopefully that's slightly prepped us for this, but looking forward to that greater conversation. Councillor Iwanicki.
I know we're not there yet. Can I just add a question?
Yes.
Now I'll do it. I know the franchise fee itself comes back every year, but aren't we here to approve a 10-year franchise agreement? So presumably we wouldn't be revisiting that for another 10 years.
No, through the chair, Councillor Iwanicki. So the agreement expired at the end of, or does expire at the end of January, of course, and so we renewed it for 10 years, but we did have a discussion about the rates back in the summer, and we usually get notice late summer, August, September, from the companies ATCO and Fortis that it's time to review and look at your rate. So we do that, we come to council, and that's what Ms. Phillips is referring to. So that will come back to council in like September likely for a discussion with council on what they want to do with the rates for the following year. And they give us forecasts for revenue and that sort of thing as part of that process. So it is something we revisit every year. This was just to renew the agreement at this time. So we didn't put it in the report to have a discussion about rates at this time. They like to have approval from the municipality prior to the end of the year in order to get rates in place for January 1st. So that's why we do it when we do it.
No, I'm not, sorry, my apologies. I wasn't asking, are we here to discuss rates? Oh. I'm just saying, because we're at the point now that we're saying, oh, we want to renew a 10-year lease, right? 10 years is a long period of time. So I'm just confirming that's what we're here to discuss, but yes. Then the rates are at a separate point.
Correct, yes.
Okay, then I'll let you finish, and then I'll have a follow-up question afterwards.
Oh, I think I'm done, so go ahead.
Then never mind.
Please,
I'll just jump right at it. Just for my own sake, because clearly this is going to be the first time and maybe the only time I ever actually have looked at anything like this. What is the benefit that we receive from a particular provider? I know there's only maybe 3 in the province, something like that.
Yeah, through the chair, it's a good question. I guess we do in the agreement. It does outline the process for how we work with ATCO and Fortis, for that matter, on subdivision development, moving lines, upgrading lines, and that type of thing. So we do that, and if we give them enough notice and work closely with them, it's at no charge when they do stuff like that. So there's definitely some benefit there. Yeah, I think we just have a good working relationship with them over the years. So I think, I think it's worthwhile extending the agreement.
Thank you. Council, any additional questions? Would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Payne.
I move that council approve second reading to bylaw 1933-2025, renewing the natural gas franchise agreement with ATCO Gas and Pipelines Limited for a 10-year period as outlined in AIR 1290.
Thank you. Any comments or debate, council? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Is someone interested in putting forward third reading? Councillor Bilodeau.
That council approve the third reading to bylaw 1933-2025, renewing the natural gas franchise agreement with ATCO Gas and Pipelines Limited for a 10-year period as outlined in AIR 1290.
Excellent. Council, any additional comments that we'd like to add? All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Council, we've reached an hour, so let's take a 10-minute recess and then we will come back in for the rest of our agenda. Thank you.
That's okay.
Okay, the 2026 interim operating budget approval. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Hanson. So with this report tonight, we're looking for council to approve a 2026 interim operating budget. So the Municipal Government Act requires that we adopt the operating budget for each calendar year prior to January 1st of that year. But it is acceptable to, in place of that, adopt an interim operating budget. So that's what we're hoping council will do this evening. And we've done this for a number of years now. So basically, the interim allows us to keep operating, paying wages, benefits, contracted service, goods, supplies, those types of things, and utilities. So the number, I think, is up a little bit from last year. Just, I think it was 15 million last year, so we're proposing 20, just because of the date of the final operating budget approval is a bit, is proposed to be a bit later this year than in the past. So we're also looking for some pre-approval on some projects you can see listed in the report, totaling $155,500. And then the explanations for those are attached. And if you've got any more questions, certainly there's staff in the room that would be able to answer those for you. One item that's come up is, of course, software. You can see one of the items is sound attenuation baffles. Listed there. So software for a new system for in this room in chambers, and it's not there, but there's a couple of ways we can approach it. Council can add a number if they so wish tonight, but we've had some IT department has had some preliminary discussion and research on it, and the price range is from $120,000 to $180,000. So we need to do some more research and refine that, and maybe come back to council with some options. Or council so wishes can put a number in the budget. I suspect it'll have to come back council anyway, perhaps due to the number of bids we receive and the price range. So, yeah. So, yeah, with that, we're just looking for council to approve interim operating budget at 20 million as proposed, and then provide direction on the pre-approval items listed in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Councillor Payne, you're going to hate this, but council, I would ask that we just suspend our typical procedure on this one, and I'd love to go through these items specifically if there's any questions or comments one by one, rather than jumping around before we have a motion on the floor. I think that would make this cleaner for us. So if there's no objections to that, let's do that. Do we have any questions specifically around the Nexor Center elevator code upgrade, council? Or any concerns that you'd like to, or debate we'd like to have on that item? Seeing none, what about the admin content coordinator position? Yes, Councillor Johannesson and then Mearns.
Yeah, so I can't pretend that, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but Mr. Dehart is wrong in what he said in his speech. I also think maybe we should make him an honorary counselor, because he obviously does his research and he's here all the time anyway. So, and I appreciate these words. He makes some good points. I would like to maybe hear more from whoever's making the decisions on this, on possibly, is there another way to do it? Is this a must? So I want to kind of recognize our open mic speaker there, and because I mean he brings up some good points that I think I'm not 100% comfortable with just approving that. So that would be kind of my thoughts on that.
And actually, let me just be very clear, because I was not. We should start with questions, and then we can have discussion and debate on each. So let's start just with that. Are there some specific questions
I think
that we can have answered?
Yeah, I think my question would be, are we doing, is this a must, or is there another way that we can consolidate the workload with what we have there within the WCC?
Okay. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Johannesson, right now we have 37 staff and not one admin staff in our building. That is town funded. So our current admin staff is actually a grant funded position. That position will come to an end on March 31st. We cannot function without admin staff. I could go through the entire list of all the duties that that person does, but we run the risk of that person leaving to find another permanent position and then having to onboard and retrain somebody to be able to fill that position. So there really isn't a way to pass this out for us to be able to do the work. And so, yeah, that's why we're requesting it, because that grant position will end.
For clarity, so this is not a new position. It just was previously grant funded. The grant expires, and now we're looking for it to continue, and the position remain. How long has this position been in? How long have we had this position? And when was the case made, I guess, really, for that position to exist?
Yeah. Mayor Hanson, thanks for the question. The position has been around for 6 years. So when the FRN grant was put in, the digital content coordinator position was under IT initially. And so the work that position does, over the years, it was supposed to be a 3-year position. The FRN grant was just granted extensions for the next 3 years, not an opportunity to change anything within the grant. And so the admin work just kind of moved over to that position because we didn't have an admin staff. And with the social media and the website and the creating of our content and the way that it has increased in the amount as well as quality over the last number of years, having one consistent person doing that work, we've just kind of moved a lot of those things to one person to be able to do it. So there isn't anybody to move the work to if that position was to go away.
Councillor Mearns, did you have a question, or were we perfect? Councillor Cindy has one, and then we'll go to Iowa Nikki.
Just thinking the word risk might have been the wrong word to choose, but I'm questioning, is there possibility that FRN, Family Resource Network grant could reappear, or in the future, like, are we looking at possibility of grants? And I know WCC looks at grants constantly, so I know you live in a grant world, but specifically to this position.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Smitty, the grant we will apply for through the process, the EOI process, but our contract specialist has been very clear in that this position would not be refunded or be able to be put through the grant, particularly because they have specific requirements they want us to meet. Intake, childminding, and intensive youth services are the direction that they're asking that those dollars be repurposed for.
Thank you. Councillor Iwaniki, do you have a question?
Well, Councillor Smitty more or less actually hit what I was going to answer.
Excellent. If we, additional question?
Yeah, just a simple question. So this position, you would believe is the only reasonable thing to do would be to do this?
Through the chair to Councillor Johansson, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
You. Thank you.
Excellent. With a question, Councillor Bilodeau? Sure.
Just given that the history of this job came from a grant, how do you justify the amount of wage you're putting on that? Like, given that it was a grant, so are you comparing that to just industry norm, I guess?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Bilodeau, it is still on our grid. So it's on our wage grid. So it is compared with other positions, and we go through a process where we evaluate those positions each time a position is created. And so when it was evaluated initially, it was put onto the grid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Council will move from questions on that item into conversation around it. Councillor Payne.
I think the difficulty here is that it's being called a new full-time position when it's really not. It's just one that's being funded now. So I think the position has existed for 6 years. It's been made into an essential position within the organization. It's just now we have to find a way to fund it. So it's to me it's simply maintaining what exists. The unfortunate thing is the funding has to come from a different source. So I think it's fine.
Councillor Burns.
Yeah, and I agree with Councillor Payne on that. And for new council that wasn't aware, there was an organizational review done earlier this year and gone through all departments and everything. And so, you know, I'm comfortable with the fact that that's been done already and everything's been looked over and adjusted. And so I'm fine with, you know, supporting this that way. So.
Councillor Iwanicki?
I'll just echo what my two colleagues have already said, but one of the, I guess you could say, concern that I have is what do we do in the future if we get another position that could be created by a grant that now we're suddenly committing ourselves to a permanent position, right? Like suddenly that grant's no longer there and we get used to it and we decide to keep that person, right? Because we got some free money out of it for a few years. I'm not dismissing or discounting the value this person adds, nor am I saying I'm leaning against it. I'm just worried that, you know, was this role created for this purpose? And now 6 years later, we're like, oh, I guess we got to keep it. That's where my head goes, right? Is the risk of that, so.
That's fair. Councillor Johannesson?
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Okay. Just, if this person wasn't there, and I kind of, that's a good point that Councillor Iwanicki made, like, if this happens in the future, what are we tying ourselves to? But if this person wasn't there, what's worst case scenario for you guys?
Through the chair to Councillor Johannesson. So things like website updates, client relationship management work, our intakes that come into our building, any of the print resources and online resources, data collection, reporting, creating and ordering materials, Perfect Mind, entry program changes, program logic models and outcome statistics, community guide work, our reporting for the different grants and the programs, any of our financial reports that we pull through for our grants, our GLR coding, our AP submissions. Those are just a few of the highlights of the work that we wouldn't get done.
I think I'm struggling with the way.
I just want to caution, I just want to make sure we're only asking questions of administration and then we can move back into the council debate discussion. So do you have a follow-up question or?
Yeah, how long is why do I sound so loud? How long has the grant been in place, and was this position not there before the grant?
Through the chair to Councillor Johannesson, the grant has been in place for 6 years. The position was originally created to create our sort of our digital imprint and our client relationship management piece. The previous to, a lot of this work was non-existent prior to the grant.
Okay.
We just did do a lot of the things. We didn't have that capacity before to be able to do these things.
Okay.
All right. Question or debate? Sure.
Is this position also the one that assists in the Seniors Association web support in the past?
Through the chair to Councillor Istindi, yes, this is the person that does all of our online, digital, social media, all that work.
All right. Do you have a further question?
I have a further comment.
Okay, let's bring it back around the council portion, and yes, we'll start with any further comments.
I think you overworked this person. Listening to what they do. As all of our organization, in the last 6 years, I'm sure that you've grown exponentially in that time. And I think what you've done, if I'm hearing you correctly, if I'm hearing the whole situation correctly, is this individual has filled in the pieces where the growth has happened. They're doing jobs that didn't exist prior to them being there. And I think that's indicative of what's happened within our organization as a whole, is we've simply grown as the community has grown, as the services have grown. So I think rather than look at this as the creation of something new, it's really just the growing that happens within an organization.
Thank you. Councillor Johannesson.
Yeah, I think the part that I'm struggling with the most here is just the wording of the department risks operational delays, that's in compliance issues and diminished service quality. I think those are slightly vague. I would prefer a more firm statement of the things that could go wrong or the things that they're not going to be able to do. Yeah, that's just kind of what I'm struggling with. Just it's a little vague on kind of worst case scenario, what would happen if we didn't have this person.
Council, any additional comment on this? I'll add my 2 cents. I'm comfortable going forward with this position. It is a bit surprising to me that there's only one administrative position within that entire department. So I think you're at the size when that is required. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Strategic Plan Consulting Services. Council, do we have any questions on this item? I'll just add the, oh, do you have a question?
One question is just this strategic plan that we're going to undergo, that's a multi-day one, I believe. Is that, and how many days would that be?
It
that
will
portion of it?
Span over the weekend, so I'm not exactly.
Okay, like a 2+ day kind of thing. Okay.
I'll just add that I appreciate that this is something that is coming up for pre-budget approval because there are so many parts of this process that are held up until we're able to do our strategic planning. We'll go into budgeting into the new year, but this timing will come around the same time as our budgeting. So we may not, we won't have a finalized document by the time we finalize our operating budget next year, but we will have had the conversation before we get to that point. So we'll have a bit of a general direction from council about where to prioritize our spending, and I'm looking forward to having that discussion sooner than later. I wish that's something you could do 4 weeks after an election, but I don't know that it would be that effective then. So looking forward to February and appreciate that we can get this out to work on finding that right consultant for us. Any other comment on that item, Councillor Bilodeau? Was that a, oh, sure, a question.
The Strategic Plan Consulting Services, so $30,000, is that every year? Is that the beginning of every 4-year term? Is that kind of the idea? Just to get a little context.
I have my answer, but I'll let Ms. Phillips take that.
We usually do strategic planning at the beginning of each term. So when you have a new council, you want to know, even if only one person turns over, you want to know what are the priorities for this council moving forward for the next 4 years so that everything we do moving forward revolves around that strat plan. Budgeting, or advocacy, the agenda items we bring to council all should relate to the strategic plan.
We'll note we often do annual or more frequent brush-ups on it, but that's more of an internal process than something we seek a consultant for. We'd have to have accomplished everything on the list by year 2 to want to bring someone else in, I would think, and I'm not sure that that will ever happen, so. All right, let's see, no further hands on that. We'll move along to the council chamber sound baffles. Let's start with questions on that item. Councillor Iwanicki.
I've heard it come up several times as I speak loudly to hear the echo. Just saying. Is this something that that was put forward to administration as an option? I'm just wondering why it's coming up now and not later on. Like, what's the urgency for it, really?
Yeah, good question through the chair to Councillor Iwanicki. So it's not the first time it's come up. It's come up several times. And personally speaking, I've been wanting it since 2013, but I guess just never identified as a priority, funding reasons, whatever it might be. But yeah, I personally find it a difficult room to hear in. But.
Yes, Ms. Phillips.
I also was hoping to tie it in with the updates to the room with regards to the technology. So I'm hoping that IT, or the plan is that IT and Public Works will work together to ensure that the new software, the new speakers, the location, the mics, all that, and the baffles all work well together. So that's why I had that as the intention, is also do the software updates. We just, because there's such a broad range on that one, we thought we'd start working on that process, but then bring that one back once we have a more firm dollar number.
Sure. Follow-up question?
Yeah, so my understanding then is the reason it's at interim now is because we have this other project ongoing and they piggyback well off of each other kind of idea?
Well, the software we don't, is also intended to be a pre-approval, which we could add tonight, but because it was a range of 120 to 180,000, we thought, well, let's actively work on that, on getting some dollar amounts for that, and bringing forward a proposal to council to approve, but also to pre-approve, but we were hesitant to put a dollar number in because it's such a range. We could put that at 180 and include that in here, if that made it clearer that those two are together, but they're both for pre-approval. Just because of the concerns we've had with our live stream going down a few times recently, or just the variety of items in the chambers that are, we can't update the mics any longer, those kinds of things. We thought we should bring it forward and get it started now rather than waiting to start it, because we wouldn't start the project now and get all the quotes and everything if we didn't know that we were going to move ahead with it. We still probably won't spend the money till April because it takes that long to get all these things done, but that was the intent behind it. But if council wasn't comfortable starting that yet, we could pause that until after the budget approval.
I have a question for budget pre-approvals. Is this a one-shot deal, or can we say, please come back with that all-encompassing number, even if it's in February, for a separate from budget approval, and do those together? Do we get more than one shot?
Oh, for sure. I mean, whether it's council saying exactly that, bring it back when you have more firm numbers, we could definitely do that. Or there may be other items that come up that we say, hey, this is a little emergent, we need to actually get approval because it's outside of what our interim budget is. So at any time, council can make those approvals, yes.
Council, do we have any additional questions? I'm itching to discuss this one. I'll say I am really keen, if we're moving away from questions, I am really keen to go forward with the technology side of things. And I'd like to do that all as one project would be my preference. I hope that can come sooner than later. I really don't want to wait until well into the new year. But to me, that looks like a huge reduction in staff time, moving away from paper Bibles, having a software program that recognizes speaking order of counselors, having something that helps with the audio in the room, potentially a closed caption situation that also helps with some of the sound, and then potentially some of those physical changes. And to me, they all come together. I'd like to see them all. So I don't love doing this separately. I'm really keen for the whole part of that project to move forward with some technology to support it. Because I don't think it's just the echo in the room that's the challenge. It's a lot of other things that are happening all together. Councillor Payne.
Well, you stole 40% of my comment. I agree. I agree with just about all of that. I think I'm going to miss tremendously the echoey, spelunking feel of being in this room. But this is a conversation that we've been having for 12 years. So the fact that it's finally in front of us again in a way in which we're actually talking about doing it instead of it being an edge item consistently being pushed off the desk is a good thing. I do think that splitting it up, for me, creates a problem. Like I don't like the idea of it being two separate pieces because it really is the same project. So, but I also don't know if this is one of those things that needs to be decided immediately. Like, is this something that could be, once it's all put together? Because how long is it going to take to put the whole project together? It can't be more than a couple weeks.
If I may, sorry. No, it wouldn't. It would probably be months. But the issue is, we can get high-end estimates and then bring that back, get pre-approval to move forward with the project, because we wouldn't issue the RFP without approval. Like, that's the double-edged sword, right? So it would be irresponsible for us to issue an RFP if we didn't know for sure that we were going forward with it. And then one of the other conversations actually that we had earlier was around corporate services, that IT falls under that. And sorry, Mr. Moore, we didn't have this conversation yet, but maybe that's a great place for some of this software. I think it's important that you as council are happy with the software. You know, as the mayor said, you can have it where if you push your button, the mic, everything's connected, where it pops up on the screen and says speaking order is Councillor Payne, followed by Councillor, you know. So for that committee to also see it, so that would delay the process, but we wouldn't want to even go there unless we knew that we were going there.
And I think just to follow up with that then, if it's that long in the process to get together, then to me, the expense of that is it's got the potential to be pretty high up there. You're looking at possibly as much as $200,000. And that to me is a completely different animal. So like this is one of those, this is a hard one.
Ms. Phillips.
My recommendation on this, especially hearing the conversation around tying them together, is that maybe we pull that one off, the pre-approval, and then we get more of that, like right now we're at like level 1 of where we are at, you know, doing any research. Let's get to that next level, get a little more firm detail, and then bring back a little bit of a plan on what that could look like and then request it at that time. Or then council could make the decision to put it off until the actual whole budget approval, which is an option as well.
Sure. Councillor Burns.
Yeah, that's something that I would support is to pull it off and bring it back. I sure don't want to lose sight of it. And, you know, the more technologically advanced we get, our meetings are online, they're on video. If anyone's attended virtually and tried to participate as a councillor virtually, it's a struggle. And so we have those options as councillors to participate, but a lot of the public are watching online, listening online, and if we can make it more of an engaged process for them and to understand, then I'm all for it. But I would appreciate it coming back.
Me too. I'm wondering if it would be reasonable if another pre-budget approval could come back just for this, the greater item in potentially January. Is that reasonable?
Absolutely, Mayor Hansen can do that.
Councillor Johannesson and then Ostindi, I saw.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lost here because you guys are talking about two things being merged together, and I'm only seeing council chambers sound baffles. So what are we talking about here? I'm just a little bit.
The other side of it would be the technology side, and that's, I guess, was our confusion as well, is I believe that they should be linked, not just looking at one. I'd rather it come back together with all of that project.
Okay. So this number, this 50,000 is just for these
only
kind of
for the sound
baffles? So we're
baffles.
talking, okay, gotcha. And I would agree with that then. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Councillor Ostindi.
Yeah, I'm okay with the delay of a few months, you know, to work out more clarity in the project. I can speak very highly in favor of the baffles. Having one good ear, I can tell you this room is one big impairment. And it's not always easy here. Plus, as the other arguments have been made about tying it into technology. And I strongly encourage, having studied acoustics a long time ago, it's an ancient degree I have in physics, but we should have a true sound engineer professional to decide, because where you put a baffle can waste your money or be the magic. So the geometry to a room is super critical.
Councillor Iwanicki.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off of Councillor Stindy's point is, that's why I think it all makes sense to be at once too, because the technology package where you're going to be putting mics and everything like that is going to be dictated by the sound in the room too, which you'd want a professional in here and actually doing measurements and figuring out where everything goes. Because, you know, there's a risk we throw baffles up and then you stick mics here and then nobody can hear them anyway, right? So.
All right, Council, I'm hearing some consensus, unless there's objection, to pull that one and hope to see it back early in the new year. Great, let's not include that into the motion. The final portion that we are, well, there's not really a separate item for that. I think we're at the point when we could go back to our regular procedure. Would someone like to make a motion for us to? Councillor Payne.
Mayor, would you like both motions together or would you like them separate?
I think we should probably separate these two.
Okay, and we'll start with the first one. I move that council approve an interim operating budget for 2026 in accordance with section 242 of the MGA for $20 million as outlined in report AIR 1287.
Thank you. Ms. Phillips, is there anything else you might want to touch on in this? It's interesting that now that I'm looking for it, it really doesn't say it. This is basically just keeping the lights on and keeping everything going until we approve the budget. This is nothing new added. This is status quo.
Correct.
That is correct, Mayor Hansen.
There we go. Make sure we can still pay people in January. Council, do we have any discussion or debate around that item? Seeing none, motion on the floor. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Council, would someone like to make a motion for the second item? You'll have to do some wordsmithing, Councillor Mearns. I see your hand up.
Make motion that the council give pre-approval of the initiatives outlined in this report, removing council chamber sound attenuation baffles in the report AIR 1287, totaling $105,500.
Way to work on the fly. Council, discussion or debate on those items, or on that motion? Councillor Johannesson.
Do we have to vote on all of these together, or can we separate them? Because I have a different vote on each of these things.
Sure. Ms. Phillips, do you suggest?
You always have the option to request to split the question.
I would like to do
And then that means every one of them will be voted on separately.
I would like to do that.
Thank you. Do we need a new motion for each, or can we just use the existing motion split?
I would say.
A new motion?
Yeah, we'd need a new motion. So we would need to do pre-approval of the initiative and then list that one initiative and then in that dollar amount and then vote on it.
Councillor Mearns, would you like to remake a motion for the first initiative listed?
I will make a new motion to approve the Neck Center elevator code upgrade in report AIR 1287 for a total of $15,000.
Excellent. Any comment on that item? All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried unanimously. Would someone like to make the next motion? Councillor Payne.
Move that council pre-approve the initiative outlined in the report for the WCC admin content coordinator position at $60,500 in accordance with report AIR 1287.
Excellent. It's an active emergency services night. Council, any discussion on that item? Any further discussion? All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. And would someone like to make the third motion for strategic plan consulting services? Councillor Iwanicki.
I move that council give pre-approval of the initiative strategic plan consulting services outlined in report AIR 1287, totaling $30,000.
Excellent, thank you. Any additional comment? All those in favor and opposed, that is carried unanimously. And I heard no appetite to do the third motion, so we will just carry on unless anyone stops me. All right, thank you, council. Now we will move along to item number K, the 2026 capital budget approval.
Thank you, Mayor Hansen. So with this report, looking for approval of the 2026 capital budget and 10-year capital plan. Of course, the Act requires that we adopt the capital budget each year prior to January 1st. That's why we're here this evening. So review and deliberation of the 26 capital budget and plan, of course, took place November 18th and December 2nd. And changes have been made after the December 2nd CAL meeting and reflected in the documents in front of you. One item I just want to point out that I failed to mention from the other night was the fact that the fire engine department, or the fire department engine 1 replacement was already budgeted in 2023. It was just for presentation purposes. So that's been removed from this report. Yeah, so the 26 budget is presented there in summary format as discussed, and then the 10-year plan is there as well. So As mentioned earlier, X marks the spot for those projects. Individual costs, well, of course, a total for each year is there as well. And the funding remains unchanged, excuse me, as well. Yeah, and I guess one oversight on my part to point out, I think it's probably, which I should have put in the motion, was to put a number in approving the 2026 capital budget. So if council's willing, I think that's a number we should add in the motion, which is $20,865,200. So just looking for council to approve the 26 capital budget tonight and the 10-year capital plan.
Excellent. Council, we can start with any questions, but I will give the reminder that if we want to talk, we've had a number of meetings on this, but if we want to talk detail about any of the numbers, we will step into the back and go into closed session. Does anyone have any questions? We'll start with. Would anyone like to have further discussion in closed session on the dollars of those items? Great. Councillor Mearns, I believe you have a motion for us.
Make a motion the council move to a closed meeting to discuss information that will be available to the public. And this item shall remain confidential pursuant to section 19(1)A of Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, RSA 2000, CF 25, and section 197(2) of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, CM 26.
Excellent. Thank you. All those in favor and opposed? We will head to the Luzelle room with Mr. Moore and Ms. Phillips, please. Councillor Johannesson, would you like to bring us out of closed session?
Sure, I move that closed session concludes and council reverts back to the regular meeting of council.
Thank you. Would someone, oh yes, we should do that. All those in favor, thank you. And opposed, that is carried unanimously. I think my brain shut off about 20 minutes ago and it hasn't quite turned back on yet. Now we're still in our capital budget item. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I could if you don't mind winging it.
No, absolutely not. We'll help you. Councillor Iwanicki.
I move that council approve the 2026 capital budget as presented in report AAR 1286, less the line item identified as tree replacement hyphen Marina Bay. And what was the total budget amount again?
You want the overall?
Yeah, the overall, I don't think I
like that in
need
there?
to say that. Yeah, for $20 million, $835,200.
Correct.
Nicely done.
Huzzah.
Council, would we like to discuss and debate any other items? Seeing none, all those in favor and opposed, and that is carried unanimously. Council will need one more motion there. Councillor Payne.
Move that council approve the 10-year capital plan as presented in report AIR 1286.
With the removal of the same item?
Well, it would be the capital plan that's there, wouldn't it? The 10-year capital plan would just be the one as presented.
Do we need to mention that in there? Just because if you refer to the report, it will still be in it. That is attached.
Then let's take out the report number. So council approve the 10-year capital plan as presented.
Yeah, sorry, I think we still need we like the AIR because then we know what agenda it was from. So I would say the 10-year capital plan with the removal of the tree replacement as
How about the 10-year, how about council approve the 10-year capital plan as presented in AIR 1286 as amended? Sure.
the trees. Thank you. Motions should stand on their own.
Great. I like where we've come to. Councillor Payne, you're okay? I'm fine. Great. Is there anything further we would like to discuss on this item, council? Seeing none, all those in favor and opposed, that is carried unanimously. I look forward to sharing some of those projects in future communications. All right. Next, we will move correspondence and information items. We've got a number there. Are there any questions on those items? I'll just comment, great news from the chamber in their letter. It sounds like things are going well and their event was, well, many of us were there, but the event was a success. It was great. Next, we'll move to notices or council requests for information updates. Is there anything else not listed there? Seeing none. Councillor Mearns, you have a notice of motion.
I do. My motion will be that council direct administration to prepare a report outlining the process, requirements, and financial implications for the town of Sylvan Lake to pursue city status, and furthermore that administration provide recommendations for next steps.
Excellent. Council, as a reminder, this is, I think, one of our first notices of motion of this new term of council. We do not discuss, debate, we just hear it for information and say thank you, Councillor Mearns, and at the next meeting, that motion will come back to us and then we can vote on whether we all would like to receive that information report or not. So it's just for us to stew on for now. With that, we've reached the, oh, Ms. Phillips.
And to clarify, approving the motion would just be telling us to bring back more information, not that we're doing anything.
Yes. Correct. And that is always really a best practice. Any notice of motion, we typically wouldn't ask for an action in it. We just ask for more information. And then that's council's opportunity to say, administration, we'd like you to take the however many hours it takes to compile that. We all agree that that's a reasonable thing to add to your workload, and we'd like more information back on it. Excellent. Any questions on that process? Councillor Johannesson.
Yeah, just to, so I know this goes, so Councillor Mearns put that notice of motion forward on his own, and then we will talk about that on the next.
We'll talk about it the next meeting. So yeah, he brought that motion forward. He sent it in advance to our clerk. She put it on the agenda, but yes, we will get an opportunity to discuss it at the next meeting.
So this is just more like a heads up.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's just a notice that there's a motion coming.
Gotcha.
Excellent. With that, we've reached the end of our agenda. Our meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.